Hey everyone, thanks for joining me and happy Tuesday. Yes, Tuesday, November 4th. Today we're going to take a look at a YouTube channel, which I cannot believe it doesn't have more subscribers, but it is called Truth Talks Media. And they were able to do an interview with, well, in regards obviously to the Chris Watts case, with the Lindstrom family. And if you didn't know, the Lindstrom family was very involved in the Watts family. McKenna, their daughter, was a babysitter um, for the girls, Bella and Cece. And Chris was pretty close with Jeremy Lindstrom, the husband, the father figure of this family. And then there is Jennifer, his wife, Lindstrom, who obviously probably took part in parties that Shanann threw and things like that. So we're going to take a look at the video, the interview they did. I don't believe in taking someone's content and playing the whole video. So what we're going to do is just kind of show parts of it, talk about it, and then I would like if you go over and subscribe yourself here to Truth Talks Media. Hit the subscribe button and hit that alert button if you want to see more videos by this creator. But this is probably one of the best, I'd say, interviews out there in regards to the Watts case. You guys, like, this is a family that was active, participating in the lives of the Watts family. So we're going to take a look at this interview and watch a little bit of it and do some commentary. Stand by.
On August 13th, 2018, the world heard Chris Watts' plea for his family's safe return on local and national news.
I have no idea where they went.
But just 2 days later, he admitted to the unthinkable. He had murdered all three of them. Since then, the story has captivated the world. But what has never been told is the story of those who shared the last happy moments with Chris and his daughters. This week, we sat down with Jeremy and Jennifer Lindstrom, close friends with Chris and Shanann.
I've replayed that birthday party in my head 1,000 times.
Did you guys take a bunch
Yes.
of pictures that evening?
Oh, yeah.
I have a picture of him standing in the background of my kid blowing out a candle.
So when you see that picture and you see him, is it a different Chris Watts than you knew?
Every time I look at that photo, his face changes, and now it's like, that's a creepy fucking picture. That's the image that's in my brain.
This is their exclusive interview. I have Jennifer and Jeremy Lindstrom here with us tonight, and we're going to be talking about the Chris Watts story. You guys have intimate details. Potentially the last person to actually see Chris and the girls alive.
Also, just remember, I'd appreciate, if when you do go over there to hit the like button, not just subscribe to the channel, but hit the like button and get this video out into the algorithm. This creator really deserves credit for getting this interview because it takes a lot of effort to track down people and find credible people involved in the case and do interviews. So let's continue.
Is that correct?
Yes.
We want to kind of go into your aspect of the story, and as it's told in a first person, there's a whole lot of information and detail that you guys have, some of which I don't think has actually been shared before. And so we want to kind of dive into this story. Obviously, the anniversary is coming up. It's been a big story around the country, and a lot of people are really interested in it. So we are very appreciative that you guys are here to actually hear this story firsthand from the people that actually probably saw them last. So introduce yourself.
I'm Jeremy Lindstrom.
And how do you know the what?
I know them because I worked with both of them.
Okay, go into a little bit of that for me. Worked with them as in how? What was your relationship with them?
Chris was a very good mechanic, master technician. Shanann was a salesperson at the dealership I was at.
So, if you did not know, when Shanann and Chris were in North Carolina, they came down to Colorado, and this was the first job that they both had. Chris was a master mechanic at this dealership with Jeremy, and I don't believe Shanann was doing sales. I think she was doing administrative work. I can't be 100% on that. I do know that she had another job at one point where she was working for the hospital doing like the call line at a children's hospital, but Jeremy will explain this a little bit more in detail. And you may be wondering, why did they leave this job? Well, I think ultimately Shanann did want Chris to be making more money. We all know Colorado is an expensive place to live, and she encouraged him to apply for Anadarko, stating that you're having issues with your hands because you have carpal tunnel. So let's see if he goes into that a little bit. But if you were curious, did he work at Anadarko? No. He worked with Chris and Shanann at the first job that they both had living in Colorado.
Met them there. They don't have family that live in Colorado, neither do we. So we kind of struck off a little bit of a family friendship. They would come over to our house for birthday parties, our kids' birthday parties, Father's Day, Super Bowls, sporadic football games because they were big Pittsburgh Steelers fans. So, and we're from San Diego, so Chargers fans. If
Right.
they ever played, we were together for that game. They would have parties at their house.
Now, if you're wondering where the Pittsburgh Steelers connection came from, I will tell you. Another channel dove into this, but he is now on Rumble, and don't care if you don't like him or not, but I'm going to throw his name out there. It's Seeking the Truth with Dave. He did a video where he actually played some clips from Shanann's old boss, and he was a Steelers fan. So that is where a lot of people are thinking, like, she didn't grow up, in Pittsburgh, so why is she such a Steelers fan? It is a pretty good guess that Shanann kind of jumped on the bandwagon because her boss, who worked at Dirty South Customs, was a Steelers fan. You all know how it is. Sometimes people get really into things and you're like, okay, I'm going to start getting into it too because this is fun. Or you might like the rival team just to kind of tick them off. But that is where the Steelers originated from.
For Steelers parties, and we'd go over and watch the game with them, and just random barbecues throughout the summer.
So your initial contact was through work, though.
Absolutely.
And what about you, Jennifer? How did you know them?
Through Jeremy. He met them both at work, and he said, hey, there's this nice couple, and they just moved out here, and they don't have any family, and we should go out to dinner with them and hang out. And then after that, we just started hanging out with them regularly. And
So I kind of want to go back and forth between the two of you because I really want to set the stage. There's a whole lot of documentation on the story. And in the documentation of the story, there is kind of a common theme, really, that most people didn't think this guy was capable of this.
No, absolutely not.
So I kind of want to get your perspective, when you first met him, kind of when you first got to know the guy and so on and so forth, and know Shanann, because part of this story is, and you'd said it before a little bit, most people think that you knew him first, but you actually knew Shanann better.
Yes.
So I kind of want to get that perspective on this. So I want you both, we'll start with you, kind of how you knew him first, and then I want to get your perspective on what you thought of both Chris and Shanann.
Shanann was very detail-oriented, very OCD in a way, right? Chris was mow the lawn, clean out the garage. It was a very old-school, traditional family value in their house. Chris was a mechanic. Shanann was a mother, right? Like very traditional along a lot of those. I told her one day at work, hey, I want to meet with you every Monday at 1 o'clock. Let's go through your customers. Let's see what I can help you with. Let's see what I can do. She would show up in my office, whether I was ready or not, with her phone. My alarm went off. She
Yeah.
would hold me accountable for our meetings. And Chris was meticulous with everything. That kid was one of the best mechanics I've ever seen fixing cars. He had a passion for what he did fixing cars.
And that is kind of what the shame is in Chris leaving his job as a mechanic. That was his passion. That's what he loved doing. But unfortunately, Colorado is expensive, and you have two daughters. You're planning to possibly have a third child in the future. At that point, when they met each other, that was not the plan. So it's kind of a bummer to see that Chris did let go of his dreams. Don't care. Yeah, we understand. We all understand what he did was terrible. But had he stayed on the path of continuing to be a mechanic, could he have started making more money? Could he have started his own business, and therefore income would have increased? And as we know, everyone always says that Shanann was just on it. She was a people person, a salesperson, and we're not surprised to hear that in this interview.
At the store as a service guy. One day for his birthday, she bought him a supercharger for his Mustang. Like, would you think anything different? No. She knew what he loved. He knew what she loved. It worked, right? Everything worked. He is a hardworking kid. Anything she said to do, he would do it. 100% of the time. Hey, my parents are going to move out here. You're going to fly out to the East Coast, and you're driving the moving truck back, and they're going to fly home. He's like, I'm good with that. I'll drive the truck so they can fly home. They don't have to ride in the truck, right? This is the kid that did this. So there's no way, shape, or form would I ever believe this could happen.
Well, there's certainly a consensus with a lot of the stuff that's out.
So that is also an interesting thing I always think about. I'm a very private person. I like my privacy. My husband likes his privacy. Having guests is something that, we discussed, like, hey, so-and-so is coming into town. Do you care if they stay? The Watts family had lots of guests in their home at many different times. Shanann had her neck surgery, and her friend Christina Meacham, I believe is how you pronounce it, came and stayed for about a month, I believe, while Shanann was recovering from that surgery and just helping out around the house, helping with the kids. We also know Frankie stayed out in Colorado and lived there for an entire month. And at one point, Shanann's entire family was there, and I believe they were staying in the basement to help them out after I think it was Celeste was born, but there was a point they were there for a very long time. As a husband, as a wife, that is a lot of pressure to put on your spouse, to have people in your personal space at all times. So that is always shocking to me, how cool, calm, and collective he was. Maybe he just didn't care. Maybe he was too scared to say no. Maybe he was too passive. But regardless, there was a lot of people in and out of that home at different times.
Out there that is a very accurate description from a lot of
100%.
people. How did you feel about the two?
Pretty much the same. Like, Shanann was always, like, from the moment I met her, she was always a super outgoing and super friendly. She wanted to, when we first met her, she didn't have any kids yet, and but you could tell that they really wanted to have kids, and she was really interested in, our girls and what they liked, and wanted to spend time with them. And then she got pregnant with her oldest, Bella, and you could tell that was, always her dream, is to have kids. And
Exciting moment.
yes.
Nothing seemed odd.
Well, she
So, like I said, I'm going to bounce around a little bit because I want to encourage you to go to this channel, Truth Talks Media, and watch the entire video and go give it a thumbs up. So, we're going to jump around a little bit. Just going to kind of like pick a point here.
But he would be out there playing with the water balloons because we talked about it earlier where you're like, he would kind of migrate towards where the kids are at.
Yep.
We're talking about the kids.
So he's out playing with the kids, nothing out of the normal. He was a little bit late, but there's a nap. We kind of know that.
Right. Well, and
Sunday.
at the same time, this is the first time we've seen one of them without the other.
August 12th.
So we wouldn't have anything to judge off of.
Okay.
But it was still normal, like with the kids.
Oop, sorry, guys.
But, then when we got to the birthday cake, he was standing in there. He knew that the girls had allergies. She knows more about what their allergies were, but he didn't let them have cake. He didn't let them have certain things because he knew they had allergies, right? We got them popsicles out of the garage because they could have popsicles. And then shortly after the cake, it was time for them to go home because their bedtime is 7-ish o'clock.
Again, on schedule.
On schedule.
So let me ask
100%.
you a question. When you were talking about the birthday cake, when he tells you they can't have it because of their allergies, was it just a sincere, I mean, was there anything about that where you would be like, okay, that's odd or anything like that?
No, because I mean, we knew the kids had allergies, and he just said, I'm sorry, they can't have cake, and you could tell that they were disappointed. So that at that point, I said, okay, well, we have, just ice pops in the freezer outside.
And was that conversation the same conversation you'd always had with him?
Yes, that's what I was gonna say. Every birthday party's been the same. They can't have the cake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So it was not abnormal.
Structured how they lived their life, but yet she noticed that there was something not right.
Right.
Yeah.
And was there anything else that she said?
Yes, it was about the allergies. So when I picked her up, she said that, everything went good. She said that, I said, well, how did bedtime go? Because I know if she would to be babysitting her brother, bedtime wouldn't go good. He wouldn't want
Right.
to go to sleep. And, but I know, they have a very regimented schedule. So she said that Cece went to bed pretty easily on time, but then Bella went to bed and then came downstairs and said she wasn't tired yet, wasn't ready to go to bed. And through some conversation that she had with Bella had mentioned that her sister can't have coconuts, and that she does have coconuts, that she won't be able to see her anymore. So that really stood out to my daughter, and she thought that was kind of sad that she, had thought that in her little mind, but
Possibly
Yeah.
someone had told her if she has an allergic reaction to it
Yes.
that they could
Yeah.
die or something like
yeah,
that.
so it's probably just so that she would know to, help watch out so
Yeah.
that she doesn't eat the wrong foods. But then, eventually Bella settled down and went to sleep. Another strange thing was that Chris, when she got there, Chris ordered pizza and said, the girls have already had all their medications, because my daughter was a little worried, like, am I gonna have to give them medications at certain times? Am I gonna have to give them nebulizer treatments because they had asthma? So she was worried about the medications and giving them the right medications. But he said, no, they're all good. I gave them their medications. You just have to feed them and put them to bed. They were already in their pajamas. Chris didn't leave his phone number with her, and she didn't leave her phone number with him. It wasn't like a conversation. And he didn't contact Jeremy or any of us to ask how the girls were doing. But Shanann, who was in Arizona, contacted our daughter to check on the girls and asked her to send pictures of them.
So Shanann must have known that he was at the game.
Yeah, she
Just
knew.
not
Yeah,
with
she
him.
knew that she was babysitting and that he was at the game. But she was the one that was checking in on how things were going with the girls, not Chris.
But that's kind of still par for the course, right?
Yeah.
'Cause she was always the one that was going to make sure everything was in order and detail.
Yeah.
So again, probably not too out of the ordinary for their lifestyle.
Yeah, but I guess he assumed if there was some sort of emergency that she would just contact me, because I was, at home right down the street.
Right.
So
So after your guys' party, then we know that fateful night, right? So I want to go through when you first heard about it. I mean, obviously you're at this party. They're there. The girls are there. He's there. The girls are with him. You go to bed that evening. Was it the next morning, right?
That we found out?
Yeah.
The next
No, it was the
evening.
next night.
Yeah.
The next night.
I was sitting on the couch. I came home from work, watching TV, looking at Facebook on my phone, and I noticed that there was a post that the girls were missing, all three of them. And I kind of looked at it, and then I'm like, okay, right? My mindset is not that this is the family that something would happen to. And I had seen it again, and I looked over at her and I said, I think Shanann and the girls are missing. And I don't know what that means. So I'm going to text Chris. And I texted him.
And this is the next night.
Yes.
Next night.
So the way the story goes is that the friend who dropped her off at, I think it was 1:48 a.m., they just come back from a conference. She had missed an OBGYN appointment, and the friend was actually who called the police
Yep.
and called Chris as
Right.
well.
Yep.
Which is interesting because we've discussed this case before as we were kind of preparing, and we both were kind of like, who really follows up that quickly? I mean,
Right.
I don't think we would have, but obviously a good friend of hers, probably knowing that the type A personality, if they didn't answer that first time, then
Yep.
something's going on.
Yep.
So that was kind of the initial setup that was going on, but you guys didn't know any of that was
No.
taking
No.
place. But after
I
you
knew
saw
she
it,
was getting home in
Yeah.
those 2 days, right? Like,
yeah.
we knew that much.
When you guys heard that part of the story, was that shocking at all for you? Knowing that the neighbor would be like, hey, she didn't answer this text, she missed OBGYN appointment.
Well, my instant reaction is, how does somebody's friend know that they missed a doctor's appointment? Nobody's doctor ever called me because one of my buddies missed an appointment, right?
Right.
That's my mindset of things. What they talked about in Arizona or what they did in Arizona or a conversation from the airport, I don't know any of that, right?
Yeah.
Who knows if there wasn't a conversation that was like, hey, if you don't hear from me, right? Like, I don't know. Now that everything I know later brings me back to some of this,
Right.
which is all speculation in my head, right? But when I followed this through, and I'm like, there's no way he did anything. Who calls the cops after dropping somebody off at 2 a.m. or whatever at 10 a.m. because they missed a doctor's appointment?
Yeah.
Like, nobody's doctor calls that somebody else to say, hey, your friend missed an appointment.
Yeah.
Right.
Right? That's my brain.
Yeah, no, I kind of went down that road too. And then what is interesting is, but we're talking now, this is like noon, the police have showed up, they're talking about, but then it hits the airwaves that night.
Well, and at the end of the day, good for her, right?
Right.
Good for her for
Oh,
having
absolutely.
the wherewithal to know that something's wrong.
Yeah, something's
Right.
wrong.
Because we knew them and we were close to them and we didn't speculate anything
Yeah.
would ever be wrong.
Yeah.
But so good for her, right?
But you then hear this information how and when?
On Facebook at about 8:30 at night, and I looked at her and I said, I'm texting Chris, hey, is everything okay?
What was the initial message that you saw?
On
That
Facebook?
said, yeah, did
Was
it
that
say
the girls are missing, help find my girls.
From Shanann's mom.
Right,
from Shanann's mom?
Yep.
Okay.
right.
And
And I was like, I'm texting Chris, hey, is everything okay, right? And he texts me back, oh, I'm sick to my stomach, blah, blah, blah.
Can you give me a timeline on that, about what time that was?
Let's just say 8:30,
Okay.
and about 8:30 and 30 seconds, I
Okay.
texted Chris, but by 8:31, I was already in my car,
Okay.
driving to his house, right? Like, what the hell's going on here? I have flashlights in my car. Who are we going to look for? Or did they go on a walk? Because they have a pool in their area. Did they go to use the bathroom in the pool because the girls had to go to the bathroom? Did they get stuck in a bathroom? I'm not leaving them overnight, stuck somewhere,
yeah,
Right.
right? That was my,
that was the initial
let's
thought.
go, right?
So, like I said, guys, please, I'm not going to play the full interview. I'm just not a fan of taking other people's content and playing all of it. So please go over to Truth Talks Media. And what I'll do is I'll drop the link in the comments here. Go subscribe. hit that thumbs up button to show love to them. And I still have to do my wrap up my review of letters from Christopher. Probably will do that tonight or sometime this week. If you did not know, I was doing chapter chunks of that book and reviewing what I personally thought were the best parts of the book. So if you would like to join me, subscribe to my page and set the alerts so that you don't miss it. Thank you guys again for being here, and I'll see you guys next time.